Boy, when they say reality is stranger than fiction, they're not kidding. Got an argument with a guy on YouTube. Another Steve Leto video. Basically, this guy's car is stolen. The guy who steals the car crashes into a bus. So, obviously the guy's arrested. They release him on his own recognizance. Why? I don't know. Washington. And the police, he reports his car stolen. The police kind of say, yeah, we found your car. It's been impounded by a private company. And the private company hands the owner of the car a bill for $2,500 for the cleanup of the accident scene. Which is absolute horseshit because he wasn't the owner of the car at the time of the accident. We'll get into more of that later. So, the Washington has a law that makes the owner responsible for certain things that happen with their property. And I think that law is being misapplied. And if it's not being misapplied, the law is wrong. Now, the reason the private company would want to go after the owner of the car is because the private company wants to collect its money. And so we have a corrupt, immoral, selfish, entitled system in this country, both private and public and everybody. You can see by the comments on that thread. I'm not going to dox the guy by calling him out by name. If you want to find him, it's not going to be that hard. But you're not going to get that from me. So, selfish people agree with this. Selfish, entitled people. Because selfish, entitled people want to be paid. And when you're an innocent third party in an accident, morals sometimes go out the window. And you don't give a flying fuck who pays as long as somebody pays. And so they tend to be okay with these kind of laws because it results in them getting paid, even though an innocent third party is the one paying. People say, well, if I have to go after the thief, I'm never going to get my money because he has no money. And then we say, well, how is this guy going to collect his money? He didn't steal the car. It's like, well, he could sue the thief. And why, again, don't you want to take that route? I tell you, you can't make this shit up. It's called cognitive dissonance. It's called an RDF, a reality distortion field. They say stupid things that conflict with themselves because they don't care. All they care about is the end result. Someone pays but me. Now, granted, that person shouldn't have to pay either. That company shouldn't be out the cost of cleaning up that crime scene. Hell, the company shouldn't even be allowed to clean up that crime scene. That should be a state job. Okay? That should be for the state to absorb, not for a private company. So that's a whole other issue of disagreement here. So, what about ownership? We got into a discussion about ownership. I'm like, the law is not even being properly applied. Okay? Because ownership has different levels. The legal owner of the car, the name of it on the title, did not own the car when it was crashed. The thief owned the car. Well, no, the thief stole my property. I own it. No, you don't. You don't own it. If you owned it, the thief wouldn't have it. I own this. It's sitting here in my hands. If a thief has it, I don't own it anymore. I have legal right to it. I have legal ownership of it, but I don't own it anymore. The thief has it. The thief owns it. Possession is 9/10 of the law. If I catch the thief with my phone, okay, the police are not going to take the phone back and give it to me. Because the thief owns the phone. It's his phone. He possesses it. And this guy, he quoted me Cornell Law. And I told the guy, I was like, possession is ownership. And he quotes Cornell Law to dispute me. And what's the definition of possession under Cornell Law? Cornell Law, possession, first word, ownership. You can't make this shit up. But his cognitive dissonance won't let him see around the fact that he just quoted the proof of what I said. Possession is ownership. So, the thief owns the phone. In order for me to get the phone back, I have to declare my legal ownership. Officer, that phone belongs to me. And then the officer's going to look at the thief and go, no, this is my phone. So now we have two parties with hearsay. The thief says he owns the phone. I say I own the phone. Well, right now, the thief has priority because he possesses it. He has ownership of the phone. Literally, he's holding it in his hands. It's his phone. But I have the legal right to that phone because that phone is my property. He owns it, but it's my property. I declare my ownership of that property, and the cop says, well, can you prove it? Yes, sir. It's my phone number. Here's my card with my number on it. Call the number. Phone rings. There you go. Or it's got my pictures on it. Or here's the receipt that I paid for it with. Here's the ESN that I registered with, or the IMEI that I registered with my cell phone company. Cop checks the IMEI. Yep, that's your phone. I've now proven that his ownership is not valid anymore. And the cop will take the phone back and give it to me. Now I own it again. It sounds like legal trickery, but think about it. It makes sense. Ownership is determined by who possesses it. So essentially what you have is two means of ownership. I don't know what the legal terms are for this. I guess you would call it title, property. So, but I'm going to call it actual ownership and legal ownership. Actual ownership is the name on the title is who owns the car. Okay. Actual ownership is who possesses it right now. So when the car was parked in the parking lot, I owned it. When the thief stole the car, the thief owned it. When the private towing company towed the car, they owned it. All right? Ownership transfers by possession. Now the question here is not, did ownership transfer by possession? Yes, it did. This is a fact. Right in Cornell Law Dictionary, possession, ownership. Among other words, but there's commas. So those are or, not ands. So any one of those words would apply. And the one that we're talking about is ownership. Okay? So possession equals ownership. Now, now, of course, there's a legal question of who should own it. Meaning, the thief owns the car, but he acquired the ownership fraudulently. He owns it, but he acquired it fraudulently. He did not legally transfer ownership. So his ownership is fraudulent, and I can challenge that ownership and get my car back, assuming they ever find it. Okay? But the point is, the thief owned the car when he crashed it into the bus. So the bill should be handed to the thief. Yes, they are not going to be able to collect that $2,500 from that thief. But that should not give them the authority to transfer it to someone else just because it increases their chances of collecting. Oh my God. Either they're abusing the law to say it says that and it needs to be challenged in court, or the law is simply wrong and it's unconstitutional. If the law actually says that, it's unconstitutional. You are charging me with a debt, with a penalty, with a crime, with an offense I didn't commit. You are placing a burden of responsibility on me that is not mine. If the thief steals the car, the thief is responsible for everything that happens as a result of him stealing that car. And that's what the law should say. If the law doesn't say that, it's unconstitutional. Literally, it would fall under cruel and unusual punishment. Oh, the thief stole your car. The thief crashed your car. We're going to make you pay for it. Oh, and this guy got double screwed. His insurance company, he had full comp collision on the car. It was a BMW they bought, and they were reworking it, modifying it, changing it. And he had full comp collision. The insurance company changed his policy to liability only without telling him. So, because normally with comp collision, the insurance would cover the cleanup of the accident scene, and then if there was a party for them to go after for that, then they would go after it. That's the whole point of insurance, is to transfer the responsibility of doing those things away from you. So, for example, if I have uninsured, underinsured, which I do because I live in New Mexico, not only is it legally required, but you'd be stupid not to have it. So I have underinsured, uninsured coverage. If a guy crashes into me without insurance, my insurance will pay for the repairs to my car. There's no deductible. It's not my responsibility. It's not a comp collision claim. It's a UDI, UNI claim. And then the insurance company may attempt to pursue the other guy to recover their losses, subrogation. I think that's what it's called. So to alleviate me of having to do that. It now becomes their responsibility. And you say, well, why is it their fault? Because I paid them. All right, they offered me a service. I paid them for that service, so they're now performing the service for which I paid for them to do, to take on that responsibility of going after the other guy so I don't have to. That's why we have police. It's our responsibility to stop crime and take care of criminals. That's the duty of every citizen. But that's a pain in the ass. Would you want to have to house the citizen in your basement locked up to your piping until court? Of course not. You gotta feed the guy until court? No, so we created police to do that for us. Okay? Same thing here. But the point is, he was not the owner of the car when it crashed. The thief was. So they're either abusing a law that should not apply to transfer liability to the one with the money, because they want their money, which is selfish and entitled, or the law actually does allow it, and the law is wrong, it's unconstitutional, it's cruel and unusual punishment. So, either which way, it's fucked up. But this guy, possession is not ownership. Cornell Law, possession equals ownership. Possession is not ownership. And then he comes back and says, yeah, but he was the legal owner. That's what I said! Actual ownership and legal ownership. The thief was the actual owner. He's the legal owner. Two different things. You can't make this up. You can't make it up. But I'm the sicko, right? Oh my God. There are so many conversations that happen on the internet that would never happen in real life. Because there are things that if you said them to me in real life, I would just look at you in a funny way, smack you across the face, and say, do I need to get Gibbs in here? I mean, you can't make this shit up.